What up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to talk about comedian and activist Amanda Seales. You may know her from her stand-up comedy specials or her role on Issa Rae's Insecure, or you may know her off of HBO's animated series Animals, which she also did a couple voices on. She's a very popular person. She's been around for a while. If you really are into comedy, specifically black comedy, you've probably known of her for quite a bit. But she kind of made a recent turn from just comedian or actor to social media influencer and political activist. Now, her earliest videos that got her additional popularity on top of her comedy and her acting roles were her social media videos actually exposing her role on Insecure and her beef with Issa Rae. She also kind of exposed how she was mistreated by a couple other black people in Hollywood, and basically how she thinks that she's been blacklisted from Black Hollywood and Hollywood in general. Now, this amount of spilled tea definitely got the black community in an uproar, and it also got her a bigger fan base. And she's been able to turn that fan base from celebrity gossip to talking about systemic racism and oppression of the working class in America, which I gotta say is a fantastic turnaround. Now, I don't want to say that she only got this fan base and this viewership from talking shit about Issa Rae. That's just not true. She's always been a very pro-black person, and she has always been somebody who seemed to care about the working class, which is why Jubilee decided to have her on Surrounded, which is a YouTube web series where people debate, and it's supposed to be one expert or a popular person who cares deeply about one issue, debating 20 other people who are either amateurs or are very, very much opposed to that issue. And yesterday, she was just on Surrounded, going against 20 black conservatives. And let's just say, it did not go well for the black conservatives. So today we're going to discuss why Amanda's emotions and demeanor, which have been categorized as problematic for a very, very long time, are actually extremely necessary in the political climate that we are in. We're also going to talk about why these black conservatives even believe these things that they've either been taught or that they've seemed to learn on the internet. And finally, we're going to discuss why I think these discussions, like the discussion between Amanda Seales and the 20 conservatives, are actually pretty necessary, and how I think they're going to end the diaspora wars once and for all. Now, this whole episode was a little bit over an hour, and there were a lot of things talked about in that hour. We had reparations, we had immigration talk, we also had over policing as a talk as well too. But the real thing that I think kept on coming up and up over and over and over again is black accountability. And I'll be the first one to say, I definitely think that the black community does need to take accountability for certain things. You know, there is a lot of violence in black culture and in hip hop. You know, there is a lot of glorification of that violence. There is a lot of glorification of getting money without necessarily having to go to school, and, you know, the glorification of the hustle. But things are deeper than accountability. Actually, Amanda Seales, she had a really great clip, and I'm going to play it here.
Look at rap. Look at what we're glorifying.
Right.
We're glorifying violence.
Who's we? Who's we? Who's we? Who's
the black community.
Who controls the
black community?
Who controls the distribution of these sources of media?
And who takes it in?
And
who takes it in?
Listen, if you're okay, so let me put it in this context. If I have a company, right, and you guys are my employees, and I determine what you get to eat every day, that's also going to determine how you exist in this company, right? Like if you come to work and I say the only thing you can eat is processed foods and fried foods, and you're not going to get to have the best vegetables, etc., what's that going to affect? Your health, that's going to affect your ability to operate, etc. This is how the United States operates. There's a lot of us that don't want to admit that as much as accountable as we want to be, all of our brains also don't operate the same way. Some of us are much more apt to be indoctrinated than others. That's a fact. There's a 1% of people that knows this. There's a whole show called Mad Men that's about advertising, etc. And if we don't acknowledge multiple things at the same time, then we simply cannot stop it. We can be as accountable as we want to be. And I hope that if you're right, because I hope you're right, I wish that it was a situation where if black people could just be accountable, then nothing else would matter. But unfortunately, that hasn't been the case, because we have seen when we have Black Wall Street in Tulsa and we have Black Wall Street in Durham, that when we actually do hold our own and build our own communities, they will still come and run it down.
Some things are just deeper than accountability. And it really hurts people and it hurts our community when some of us don't even acknowledge that. I loved what she was saying, but I think she should have went a little bit farther with the analogy. When she's talking about someone only controlling your diet and filling you with processed foods and junk food, I think what she should have kept on going with was the whole accountability factor. Yes, you can be accountable, right? Being accountable would be the exercise, right? On top of that. So let's say you have a funnel where people are just dumping cheeseburgers through that funnel all day, and that's the only thing you eat. The accountability would be you knowing, hey, I'm only getting shoved with junk food. They're only feeding me awful processed food. So because of that, I must run 2 to 3 times as much to be a regular sized person and to have a regular amount of health. But even then, my health would still be compromised because of the junk that is being pushed on me. But what the conservatives don't see is that even with the accountability, the issue is still the junk food coming down the pipeline. A lot of these people have been indoctrinated with either self-hate or some sort of, immigration-based hate, thinking that Black Americans are lazy. And this is why you need somebody like Amanda Seales, because she's somebody who's always been called emotional, angry, too loud, doesn't seem to care, right? And to just say anything to anybody, right? And 10 years ago, when we all had decorum and things were put in these politically correct boxes, and that's how we had debates with each other, that's how we spoke to each other, that was looked down upon. The way she acted was looked down upon. I never really disagreed with it, but certain people would. But I would argue that today, because things have gone so far, she's actually the person we need. Yeah, that whole Michelle Obama, when they go low, we go high thing is a complete psyop. That's bullshit. Do not believe any of that. Sometimes you need to go low. Sometimes you need to shame people, because when you shame these people, they realize how dumb the ideas that they actually have are. When liberals decided to always go high, you're really doing is keeping those ideas on the same level as your ideas. So you're actually elevating their thought processes, which gives them legitimacy. What you need to be doing is basically shutting it down as soon as it happens, because these ideas are not just liberal ideas versus conservative ideas. These debates are mostly liberal ideas versus fascism and authoritarian governments, which is a whole new level of conservative. And that's not a conservative you want to play with. And it's a shame that so many Black people seem to be having these thoughts now. And I think a lot of it is because of a lack of education and also just the internet and how insidious it can be. It can pull you into these vortexes of misinformation. Like, you see this a lot on YouTube, especially with the red pill stuff, which, eventually leads into the whole FBA type thing and everything. And there's nothing wrong with being a Black American, but if you have to step on other people in order for you to have acceptance and for you to have validity, then there's something wrong there. We can all exist in harmony, and there's no reason why Africans have to attack Black Americans and Black Americans have to attack Africans. We're all Black people. And a lot of times too, when we're talking about these statistics, when it's like, oh, this percentage of Black people does this and da 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 da. A lot of times these people will talk as if Black people are not them. They like to project as if they're not a part of it because they don't want to be seen as anything that is connected to the negative parts of Black culture. But the fact of the matter is, if you did see yourself as a part of it, that would help other people fundamentally understand that Black people are not a monolith. If Amanda Seales is talking to you, then you can at least confirm that you and Amanda Seales are not gun-toting idiots, right? And if you and Amanda Seales aren't gun-toting idiots, then it might just so happen that most Black people are not gun-toting idiots. Ultimately, I feel like these types of things just stem from a lack of self-worth and a need to be accepted. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. And that's why I think a lot of these diaspora wars need to stop. And these whole Amanda Seales 20 Black conservative videos actually need to become more popular. And I think they're necessary for us stopping the diaspora wars. Because when you're watching these things as an audience, you're seeing somebody and you're like, wait, Okay, so that guy's a black immigrant. All right, I suspected that. Maybe he just doesn't really like black people that much, and his family's told him a bunch of stuff that makes him feel superior or whatever. Cool. But then another person will come, and you're like, wait, he's black American. Wait, this person's here. This person's from here. Wait, okay, so it's just all black people of all different backgrounds who all believe this conservative bullshit. And once you realize that it's not about the man next to you, it's about the man above you, then we can really function and we can really give each other the same amount of respect and dignity that we all deserve. You know, one question that I was actually really hoping that Amanda was going to ask when she was talking to some black immigrants during those debates was actually what country they're from and why they think their country is not a prosperous place to live. Because something tells me that the answers they would have given her would have been the same exact answers that a black American would give as to why they are not personally successful. See, we all have the same oppressor. Things just happen in slightly different forms. In Africa, a lot of these countries had minerals and resources stolen from them. In America, a lot of these people had their homes, their land, their businesses stolen from them. All these things help keep black people from any sort of financial prosperity and any sort of true independence in an integrated world. And the moment we start understanding that is the moment that we start healing as a culture. But let me know what you think. I really loved Amanda's video. I thought it was very informative. It was a little annoying sometimes seeing her have to deal with these people who just simply do not know facts, but I do think some of these things are necessary. Do you agree with that or do you disagree? Let me know in the comments. Please make sure to like, share, subscribe. I'll see you guys later. Peace.